The engines hummed, passengers buckled their seatbelts, and the cabin was almost ready for takeoff. Then, chaos broke out in row 14. A white woman stood frozen in the aisle, her voice sharp. "I'm not sitting next to him." All eyes turned to the window seat. A black man sat quietly, his briefcase under the chair, his hands folded. His silence carried the weight of humiliation. Whispers spread like wildfire. The air was heavy. And then, the pilot himself stepped out of the cockpit. The man's name was David, a hard-working professional. He had taken countless flights before, but this one was supposed to be simple, just a quick business trip. He'd checked in early, chosen a window seat, and even managed a smile as he boarded. But for some people, his presence alone was too much. The woman assigned to sit beside him glared with disdain. She looked at the empty seat, then at him, then back at the flight attendant. "There must be a mistake," she muttered, her tone already dripping with disgust. David didn't move. He had learned over the years that silence could be louder than words. But in his chest, his heart pounded with a familiar ache, the sting of being judged before being known. Around them, passengers waited, caught between discomfort and curiosity. The woman's frustration boiled over. "I will not sit here. Put me somewhere else. Move him if you have to." The flight attendant kept her professional smile. "Ma'am, the flight is full. This is your assigned seat." But the woman's voice grew sharper. "Then I'm not flying. I paid for comfort, not for this." She gestured at David as if he weren't even human. Gasps filled the cabin. A man muttered, "Unbelievable." A teenager raised her phone to record. David stayed still. His eyes stayed on the window, but his silence was a shield, one he had been forced to build his entire life. Minutes passed. The cabin grew restless. The woman refused to budge. Tension stretched so tight that even the children on board went silent. Finally, the call went out. "Captain, we need you in the cabin." The cockpit door opened. The pilot stepped forward, his uniform crisp, his presence commanding instant respect. Passengers leaned forward, holding their breath, waiting to see whose side he would take. The pilot's voice was steady. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation. This passenger refuses to sit in her assigned seat because she does not want to sit next to this gentleman." The cabin erupted in murmurs. The woman smirked, believing authority was on her side. Then, the pilot's tone sharpened. "On this airline, we do not tolerate racism or disrespect. If you cannot sit in your assigned seat, ma'am, you will be escorted off this plane." Her smirk collapsed. Passengers began to clap. The woman sputtered in protest as flight attendants guided her back down the aisle, her luggage following. David exhaled. For once, someone in power had spoken up. For once, justice was not silent. As the plane finally lifted into the sky, the mood on board felt lighter. Passengers smiled at David, some nodding in quiet solidarity. A young boy whispered, "The pilot's a hero." David leaned against the window, torn between relief and exhaustion. He hadn't asked for this fight, but this time, he hadn't been left alone in it. Hours later, the video of the incident spread across social media. Millions applauded the pilot's courage. Headlines read, "Airline captain stands up against racism at 30,000 feet." The message was clear. Racism doesn't just humiliate one person, it poisons the whole environment. But when even one voice, especially one in power, takes a stand, the ripple can inspire millions. Imagine being told in front of hundreds of strangers that someone refuses to sit beside you. Not for what you've done, but for the color of your skin. That was David's reality. Yet one announcement turned humiliation into justice, and a flight into a global conversation. This is, she refused to sit next to a black passenger. Then the pilot made an announcement. If you were on that plane, Would you have clapped or stayed silent?